It's almost the weekend. We've got another slate of competitive Flesh and Blood tournaments to watch this weekend. I'm personally very excited because, as you know, we have ourselves a brand new meta. I have not made a video about the bans and restrictions that went live during the tournament. Well, were announced during the tournament last weekend. Haven't done that because I've been a little bit busy, but today I'm going to tell you what I expect to see at the top tables this weekend at the major tournaments. And here's the thing about these bans. They did not hit any of these heroes as hard as I think a lot of people are making it out to be. I think that's a really good thing. I think these are smart bans. They're well targeted. I'm a little sad to see Chart the High Seas go, but I think if you do anything more than that, Gravy just gets to the point where he just can't function. And so I would like to see them maybe give him some gold generation back, but nerf a different card. Or like if they want to nerf something in the future, then they would need to give him some gold gen back. Because at this point, if they nerf any more of his gold generation, he just cannot function. Period, end of story. I think that there's just not a way for him to actually get guys in the yard if they take away just about any other tool he has at his disposal. Nevertheless, I still think Gravy Bones is a strong hero in the overall meta. I do expect him to be quite good, even with another bit of a hand slap with regards to losing Chart the High Seas. The same, I think, can also be said for Arachnne Marionette. I looked at a lot of lists over the past couple of weeks. These lists have been doing quite well in top 8s of a variety of tournaments. I looked at a lot of lists. Every single list that I looked at that was in the top 8, posted that I could find, had all 9 copies of Orb Weaver Spinneret. So it is clearly, obviously, a card that is quite potent. And so you would think, right, removing that card would do something to the deck. And I think it does do something. It just makes the deck play the new cards that Arachnne Slipped Through the Cracks got, which is kind of hilarious because Horrors of the Past, this card existing, is quite scary. This is a very powerful card for all assassins, especially when you realize that you can combine it with Take Up the Mantle still. Like, that's a card that exists as well. You can do some crazy stuff. And I don't even say combine. Like, you can just have both of these cards in the deck together, doing things, targeting things that are powerful, and they function. Like, these are very powerful cards that Arachnne Marionette will shift to, or can shift to, and just become a different version of the hero. It may not be the same style of play, but I think it will still be successful. One thing, though, I don't unfortunately think is going to happen, that's Arachnne Slipped Through the Cracks. I don't think this hero can function while Marionette is as good as Marionette is. And the reason is, Arachnne Slipped Through the Cracks gives Marionette such an edge that there's almost no point in even running this out there. Like, the benefits that you gain from being the more aggressive version of Slip Through the Cracks are starting to wane in comparison to just playing an aggressive version of Arachnne Marionette. So I thought if I would have sat down and made this video on Monday, when I was originally planning on doing that before I got busy this week with the final week of school and getting everyone everywhere all at once, I thought Slip Through the Cracks was going to be like the new aggressive disruptive hero. But the more I've thought about it and the more I've looked at lists and really considered, if Marionette has a strong presence in the meta, there's no reason to play Slip Through the Cracks, because if you run into that sort of assassin mirror match a couple of times throughout a tournament, you're just getting hosed. So unfortunately, even though they just had an armory deck come out, I don't think Slippy is going to make the cut to the degree that I thought he would, which is sad in a way. There is another thing, though, that we should talk about, because the other 2 heroes that were majorly nerfed, one of them being Verdance, I think changes the way she plays in a pretty big way. And rather than giving her, the ability to play defensively and decompose, now you're encouraged to play, your decomposed attack action cards and be more of the stompy on your own turn decomposing Verdance that you could kind of compare to a Bull Lander list. I do think that out of all of them, I think Verdance actually takes the most arrow to the knee. I think you can still play the hero, and I think she still deserves a spot in the meta, specifically to kind of combat one of the other heroes that could possibly be very good still, or continuing to be very good in stocks rising, simply because she does have the potential to just like pot combo if you're playing that version, and if you think that the meta can handle that. But if there are more aggressive decks coming to the fore because more space has been made through the banning of the next hero that we'll talk about, if that's the case, then her stock falls just a bit because she doesn't have those D-reacts to protect herself and set herself up to life gain and so on and so forth. So I do think she takes a bit of a step back in this meta, and a hero that I think takes a step forward and perhaps tries to combat the aggressive decks that are coming up that are all sacrificing their ability to pitch and trying to just kind of take the place of Syndra. It is none other than Yarl Vetrady. Look, there's a lot of hype around this hero. This hero has continually seen, positive play and positive results in paper tournament play over the past 4 tournaments. If you look at the data, the callings and the battle hardens, Yarl is really climbing up there, and deservedly so, because he has the capacity to really toolbox an answer to just about anything in the meta. And I say just about because there are some heroes that I think just have an overwhelmingly good time into him. That being said, Yarl, I think, is a great answer to a lot of the sort of mid aggro decks, the A-tier decks, if you will, and I do expect Yarl to continue to grow in popularity going forward. It's funny, too, because I think Yarl has one of those tools at his disposal to maybe combat Gravy Bones if Gravy Bones is at the top, and that's, of course, being able to blow up the compass if we see people shifting over to that style for Yarl, and then just maybe playing Fatigue out after that. But Fatigue Yarl is a deck that I do expect to do well going forward. And there's a bunch of other heroes that we can talk about with regards to like mid-range soup, if you will, like the mid-range style or the value style decks. Everybody's talking about the power of KO. I would consider KO more of like a mid-range deck. I do think KO is pretty strong, but at the same time, there's just a ton of other heroes sort of gobbling up this space. And he has the capacity to beat just about any aggro deck, and his numbers are far better than they were now that we have Super Slam out, because he has access to Reckless Stampede, which is a hell of a card. I hate that card. Nevertheless, he has access to that card alongside of all of the extra go again that he got off of Buckwild. Very powerful hero in his own right. He might get a little overshadowed by the fact that there are just other heroes that are trying to do the fast thing better. Like, for example, Acilio. I have Acilio as one of the better decks in the format with regards to aggro, and partially because his combo has never been easier. But the issue that I see with him this weekend, and this is kind of crazy because when I first fell in love with Acilio right before he came out, the meta was rife for what I'm about to talk about. There are going to be a lot of people that are just running out hate cards that either hit him directly or splash damage him. Like the Weakest Link, I'll just put it on the screen if you've never seen the Weakest Link. This card sucks. I hate this card, and I hate this card because I was playing a ton of Acilio, and everyone was playing the Weakest Link to target MST heroes. All the stupid chi targeting is why people were playing this. The fact that you can bring this back out and it like splash damages into a bunch of other different heroes that, you know, like for example KO, that have cards without like base defense, sucks for Acilio. And so while I really want to say that Acilio is going to be at top tables, and I do think that the heroes that, the players that dodge people playing Weakest Link and like the Bells and so forth are going to do it, just because I think his meta share is going to go up, I think he's going to have a tough time going forward in this meta. He might be at the top tables this weekend. KO might also be at the top tables this weekend, but I do think they are going to falter a little bit. And that leaves me with 2 more heroes I want to talk about. Heroes that I really do believe in. One of those is Fang. I think if Verdance takes a step back then Scour becomes a card that is less seen, less played, and I do expect Fang to have some meta share increase. Is he going to be able to go toe-to-toe with some of the more aggressive decks like Dash.io, which I'm not going to talk about in this video because I do think Dash.io is pretty solid, on par with Acilio as far as aggression is concerned, but weak to a lot of things, including disruption. I think Fang can get there and has the capacity now that there's less, Verdances and Scours going on. But I also worry that in a Redline style build, a Yarl could take that Fang down. And I've played from the Fang perspective into Yarl, and you can win that game, but there are moments where you just get hosed and have to rebuild your board because they gave you too many Frostbites or they gave you an on-hit that you couldn't deal with, so on and so forth, right? So there are moments that make this matchup harder, but I do expect to see Fang kind of come up a little bit. And that also means that my favorite hero, which is none other than Casai of the Golden Sand, is going to have a little bit of trouble. Here's the reason why. I think that there are multiple heroes in this format right now, or perhaps in this format, that really make things hard for Casai. If Acilio is good, then I think Casai will struggle. If KO is good, even though this was a positive matchup for Casai, now that Super Slam is out, I think Casai will struggle. And if Fang is good, I think Casai will struggle. Now, before we had Blood Follows Blade, Casai and Fang were in a lot of ways like the same hero. It's just that Fang did it better. Now, maybe there's some space for Blood Follows Blade to carve out more board state, and you can kind of get an edge on Fang, because then he has to send a dagger or a 0-for-4 at your, dude. That's a possibility. But oftentimes, it's just a battle of attrition, and his attacks and attack reactions are far more efficient at times than what Casai can do. So I'm a little worried about my girl here and her placement, because there are multiple heroes that she does struggle with already that are going to, in my mind, be going up the totem pole. If she's losing out on Syndra, if she's losing out on Yarl, which I think Yarl's a benefit, if she's losing out on Gravy Bones, I think if your meta is just those heroes, dude, you're good with Casai. But if it's other heroes like Fang or KO or Acilio or maybe even Arachnne Marionette, I think you might have a lot of trouble. So I'm kind of sad to say I'm not sure where Casai is going to fall here, but if the meta shakes out and you can kind of change the deck a little bit, maybe you start playing like the weakest link and stuff like that, maybe you could actually get there with Casai. But if you want my picks, I'm seeing Gravy Bones, I'm seeing Yarl, I'm seeing Arachnne Marionette, and I'll throw in a spicy pick of a Fang making his way back in. Outside of that, there's a lot up in the air that I could see happening this weekend. I'm really curious to hear your own thoughts and how you feel about the bans. Let me know that down in a comment below. And of course, if you enjoy this type of content and you want to see more of it going into 2026, make the number go to the other number. As always, everybody, thanks for watching.